Hello and welcome to Binding. I'm Andrea Lochin. As you can see, I'm looking good with a brand new tattoo. As today we have a very special guest in our program. She's a famous tattoo artist, a psychologist with a graduate degree, and a lead singer in a rock band. She's also a swimming athlete and a wonderful person. However, we're interested in her main talent.
Вона красуня, але сьогодні нас цікавить її найголовніший талант, як на мене. Справа в тому, що вона ілюстратор книжок, ілюстратор доволі відомий.
The fact is that she's a famous book illustrator, even though she's quite young. So meet Nadia Kalameyets in the program Binding.
Nadia Kalameyets.
I know that this exhibition was the first. There were not just paintings, but photos of paintings, and this exhibition brought you success. How was it to exhibit at such a young age? The exhibit was a very positive experience, though this was not my first showcase, rather the second one. I began painting when I was 16 years old. These were true paintings, not some kind of essays. Yes, if considering it from this perspective, there were pictures to color. But in fact, there were more like cartoons or comics. There is a style that is called doodle. It is when you draw the medium all over with cartoons, small pictures. I had my notebook fully painted. Notably, after this exhibit, I met the people's artist Oksana Shapkarina when I was 16. I asked her, how can I paint? Because I didn't attend any art school, and I thought that it is hard to create paintings. She said, just draw, take paint and do it. In other words, she was your artistic mentor. I would call her the initiator. You came and asked, are you an artist? How can I draw? She responded, just start drawing. To be honest, we discussed the issue of whether I can be a tutor several times. I don't know how to do it. I would sit the child down and say, just draw. Draw, draw. Drawing is essential. Yes, just draw and express yourself. As such, I began to create large paintings when I was 16. At the same time, I created my first exhibition. My friends suggested to me that I come to a cafe located near the Shevchenko University. It was called Alma Mater. My paintings were displayed there for several months. It was quite unusual, interesting, self-conscious and pleasant. Nevertheless, I didn't feel myself as an artist, rather a young girl who came to share her works in the world of great people. Did you have a desire to come to this cafe, drink a cup of coffee, and observe the reactions of people who look at your works? Is that the way it was? Actually, it was. It is a good idea, but at that time it did not come into my head. Moreover, I know that the beginning of your creative career was associated with cafes, coffee, or something like that. I know that Mariana Savka invited you to paint for cafes in Lviv. Is that a fact? If possible, tell us this story. I would say that it looks like a plot for a feature film. A world-famous publishing house is asking a young artist to collaborate and create illustrations for some film, starting with cafes, and then, how was it in reality? Honestly, it was one of the happiest days in my life. I think so, because it is more interesting for me to be an illustrator than a painter. I thought that book illustration is more complex than just painting pictures. Secondly, it was a symbiosis of cultural language and development of the heart, mind and soul, all in one package. I had a strong desire to engage in this creative process. I once found a list of Ukrainian publishing houses in Google and wrote them emails. I actually wrote my proposal in an interesting style. Good day, I create paintings. Can you please take a look at them? I have a strong desire to become a painter-illustrator. 2 publishing houses of 6 responded to me the next morning, yet they replied as follows. Hello, madam or sir, you did not state your name, nor other legal names, your gender or education. Tell us more about yourself. We liked your paintings. We will try to find a project for you. I read my letter once again, and I realized that the style was far from standard formal. It was childish and too emotional, but I wrote it sincerely. Perhaps it was effective. I think it is a great format for those who want to find a decent job in large companies. Just write them a letter with sincerity and an informal manner. Forget your name or gender. You will receive a response the next morning. They will ask you to tell more about yourself and your work. The work is good, but who are you? Therefore, Mariana Savka found you. So what exactly did she recommend to you? She offered to illustrate a beautiful coffee chocolate book about love before St. Valentine's Day.
Красиву книжку про кохання.
I noticed that often I draw something that inspires me during a period when I began to work with oil paints. Often I'm inspired while drinking tea or coffee or something else. Most likely, it is like a pause to feel my inner self. It's like sorting oneself out. Yes, sort myself out. The idea came to me to create a coffee series. It was in sepia color with vivid elements. For instance, a blue cup, a blue dress for a girl with blue eyes, and everything else had this coffee color. Then so-called coffee fairies appeared. They are the characters from a book. I would say even characters of my paintings more than in my books. You know, I will tell you. We will continue, of course, but before that I have to address our viewers. Isn't it so vivid? When such guests come to our program like a colorful spot in the sepia environment that you will remember for a long time.
Яскраве щось абсолютно, яке потім довго згадуєш і не можеш забути.
Speaking of tattoos, there is countless amount of styles and images of tattoos, perhaps even more than illustration styles. It is due to the fact that illustrating a person is equally difficult as illustrating a book that will attract the attention of people from an artistic point of view. We will talk with Nadia about this issue and more. Yes, I was dreaming of illustrating a book about tattoos and designing it accordingly. In fact, like you said, it is a dual process. I have to be a painter and an illustrator foremost. Many people know me as a talented painter in terms of the artistic style and technical aspects. Thankfully, my friends supported me, which enabled me to grow and develop tattoo art. You need the support of people from the beginning, so you can train. I wrote a post on Facebook that I would start working in the sphere of tattoo art. I asked who wanted to be my model. I said the sketches were free, and people came to you. They came. It is interesting that I was prepared to face some misunderstandings, because I didn't believe in myself. However, there was a long line of people. Mostly those were my friends, and the friends of other friends. I was grateful to them for their support and trust in me. You know, I would also appreciate them. I faced a similar situation in my life, but I'm not as brave as you are. One day I came to a barber shop when I was young with a shaggy hairdo. The hairdresser honestly said, "You know, today we have students examining hairdressing. If you are not against my proposal, our intern can do a haircut for free. It will be their first haircut."
Наш, власне, студент-стажер, який, це буде, можна сказати, його перші зачіски взагалі у світі. Було дуже страшно.
I was a bit terrified, but I agreed and responded, "Okay, let's do it." A girl came to me with scissors and shaking hands and started to give me a haircut and then a hairdo. That was probably my greatest act of bravery, as I was very nervous, and I was afraid and not sure how this experiment would end. If someone would suggest me to make a tattoo by a person who does it for the first time, I wouldn't be so sure I would accept the offer. So I bow down to your friends and their friends. Okay, what about illustrations? How is it possible to put the famous tattoo style into a book? The author may argue, it isn't what I wanted. It's simply a tattoo parlor. Where do you find authors who accept to see your style and print it in their books? It looks beautiful and unique from a design perspective. It also stands out among the content in other books. So I think the authors will be interested. What kind of book will it be? Let's say Katerina by Taras Shevchenko or the famous novel Anna Karenina by Lev Tolstoy. Could you create a painting of Anna Karenina in a tattoo style? I think it would be very interesting. It would certainly be interesting to see the final result. I would try to do it. It is a creative mission, particularly from the design perspective. In terms of a creative mission, I always ask illustrators what will they do if a publishing house offers them work on a book which they don't like.
Хороше питання.
That is a very good and appropriate question. I have two options. The first one is to refuse to work on such a book. The second is to look at this book from the perspective that I will like it and see something personal in it. I believe that I can only get inspiration to undertake a project in this case.
Чином можна, з моєї точки зору, отримати натхнення та захотіти її малювати.
You will not grumble if you don't like Katerina by Taras Shevchenko. You will call them and say, "You know, Taras Grigorovich, I will not make drawings for your book." Listen, it's a pity that I don't draw. If I were an illustrator, I would speak with writers. Of course, the traditional question, what will happen next? Arguably, when you're young and talented, the stories alike to Mariana Savka and Nadia Kalameyets have to occur every day. You search for miracles and surprises every day. We will now speak about future surprises, books, and illustrations. Nadia, what about the authors with whom you work? As far as I understand, those are usually people of the younger generation, am I right? Not Taras Shevchenko or Lev Tolstoy with a padded beard. Those are young and creative people, right? It depends. They may be creative and young. Sometimes they are people's writers who are mature. So they see you with all your tattoos and say, "Who is that girl? Was it so?" By the way, I made my first tattoo and then went to a book forum in Lviv. I helped the Sweet Kazakh publishing house put up its stand. I expected people to come up and ask, "What's that? I don't get it." But that didn't happen. I was surprised. Even the intellectual and mature community of writers and poets accepted me and my work the way it was. Moreover, some of them showed me their tattoos. This was in some places where they were never shown or visible to others. Well, those were places that were slightly hidden. I understand you quite well. Let's now talk about the books that will soon be decorated with your illustrations. Yes, so actually the book of the Fontan Kazakh Publishing House will be released at the Knizhkovy Arsenal Festival. It is a collection of modern tales by contemporary Ukrainian authors. In fact, they choose several Ukrainian painters. They compiled a great collection. I have not seen the end product. I recently submitted this project. I'm looking forward to it. Well, what have you illustrated? Which tales and which authors? I have illustrated the writer Halina Maniev and the tale's extraterrestrial friend. It's interesting. So you had to paint images of aliens? Yes, but on a small side note, I think that I'm one of those illustrators who mostly had drawn different aliens and spaceships that came from other planets and from outer space itself. I thought about it. As soon as I saw you, I immediately realized that you're an illustrator of aliens. From your point of view, what do aliens look like? Human-like creatures with amazingly huge green eyes and oversized heads? Oh, they can be drastically different. It really depends on the author who describes them. I had to draw octopuses. I also had to draw humanoids and human beings or some kind of angelic creatures. It is an interesting style of art that has a broad expanse for creative interpretation. You know, there are painters who specialize in painting animals. There are also artists who specialize in painting landscapes. So how are artists who draw extraterrestrial creatures called? Is there a specialization? Extraterrestrialists. Extraterrestrialists? It may be so. Therefore, I propose that you create an all-Ukrainian association of extraterrestrialists and develop this specialization. So that we will discover how extraterrestrial beings actually look like. I have one more difficult question. If there are authors with whom you don't want to work, there must be authors that you would look forward to cooperating with, but you still haven't had a chance. Perhaps there are some books, classical or modern, Ukrainian or foreign, to which you would be willing to submit your illustrations, if you had such an opportunity. Tell us honestly, what genre would you choose? Which book? Maybe we know it. Would you prefer to illustrate that will invert the imagination of readers of a well-known well-known book. I can say there are a lot of books. First and foremost, because I always have a personal viewpoint. I can show readers a very interesting world through a book and create very interesting illustrations and drawings. For instance, the well-known book The Little Prince, illustrated many times. The classical drawings that the Saint-Exupéry made himself. Yes, sure, I still want to try. I'm driven by this idea and I cannot just stop thinking about it. I would like to illustrate The Master and Margarita by Bulgakov. In fact, it is not evident whether or not this book needs any illustrations.
На уяву читача.
I will tell you sincerely, I saw some illustrations to The Master and Margarita. I am not a big fan of this book, but I feel that it is a strong piece. Yet illustrations that I saw, I can regard them as a feature film or a series, nothing even close to what I imagined. Maybe you are right. Usually when I read the book, I instantly see several pictures. They can be in the middle or at the end of the work. I think this picture will be here. Then I begin to draw. Only then I come up with the idea of the following pictures. It resembles a dark field that is gradually lit by lanterns or a campfire. It becomes illuminated with time.
Загораються якісь ліхтарики або там багаття, і воно потроху світлішає.
As a result, the light comes, and you can see a larger picture that you have striven to create with your soul. You know, Nadia, I can say that this is the idea that was planted in you when you asked yourself what to draw and how. As a child, you were told to sit and draw what you saw. This child is enthusiastic and inside of you. So sit, draw, and come to our program Binding with your new works.